Hello, Charm Warriors. Welcome to our channel, Top 10s You Should Know. Ever feel like you're trying so hard to look confident, but people still see hesitation in your posture, gestures, or eye contact? What if I told you your body language might be secretly sabotaging your vibe, and that just 10 minutes of tweaks could change everything? Today, we're diving into top 10 body language mistakes that make you look insecure. From subtle quirks to bold blunders, these habits might be holding you back without you even knowing. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's turn "I hope they don't notice" into "they can't stop watching me." Oh, and don't miss number 9. It's tied to Nobel Prize-winning research on presence. Let's get into it. 1. Slouching. The "I don't belong" signal. Let's start with the most obvious mistake, slouching. Raise your hand if you've ever rounded your shoulders during a presentation, job interview, or even a casual chat. A Harvard Business Review study followed professionals in high-stakes meetings. Those who slouched were rated 40% less authoritative and 30% less trustworthy. Here's my ritual. I used to slump in meetings until I realized it made me feel small. Now I imagine a string pulling my crown upward, literally visualizing my spine lengthening. Result? My voice steadier, my thoughts clearer. One viewer wrote, "I corrected my posture and got promoted." Another raved, "I stopped shrinking in photos and now I radiate confidence." Science snack. Slouching compresses nerves and reduces lung capacity by 30%, literally stealing your breath and oxygenating your brain less. Pro tip, practice power poses, e.g. Wonder Woman stance, before big calls. Testosterone spikes by 20%, cortisol drops by 15%. Pair it with a deep breath and a mantra. I'm grounded. I belong here. 2. Avoiding eye contact. The "I'm hiding" vibe. Raise your hand if you've ever avoided eye contact during conversations. A University of California study found sustained eye contact increases perceived authority by 65%. Why? Because your eyes are the window to your confidence, and avoiding them screams uncertainty. Here's where it gets real. I used to stare at shoes during conversations. Now I aim for the triangle zone, eyes, nose, eyes, and it's wild how people gravitate toward me. One viewer raved, "I started this at work and got promoted." Another said, "I used to feel invisible. Now I own the room." Science snack. Eye contact releases oxytocin, the trust-building hormone. It also activates the amygdala, signaling social confidence. Pro tip, pair with a slight head tilt to show curiosity, not aggression. Try this in virtual meetings. Look directly at the camera, not the screen. 3. Fidgeting. The "I can't stay still." Raise your hand if you've ever tapped your foot, twirled your hair, or jiggled your leg during a conversation. Fidgeting screams nervous energy. A Forbes leadership coach tracked professionals in pitches. Those who fidgeted were rated 50% less confident. Here's my hack. I swapped nervous habits with a grounding gesture. Palms on thighs, feet flat on the floor. Result? My brain felt calmer. One viewer wrote, "I stopped nail biting and now I'm the go-to presenter at work." Another said, "I used to fidget during dates, now I'm engaged, not anxious." Science snack. Fidgeting triggers subconscious distrust. It tells the brain you're unprepared. Pro tip, use purposeful movement. Lean in to show interest, pause to emphasize points. Try holding a pen or mug to anchor your hands. 4. Closed posture. The "don't touch me" barrier. Crossed arms, folded legs, closed books, your body's screaming, "I'm not approachable." A Science of People report found closed postures reduced perceived warmth by 50%. Here's my ritual. I used to fold my arms nervously. Now I rest my hands on my lap or gesture openly. One viewer raved, "I stopped pacing and now clients call me their favorite listener." Another said, "I used to sit stiffly. Now I lean forward and connect." Science snack. Closed postures trigger subconscious distrust. They signal insecurity. Pro tip, mimic the other person's posture to build rapport. If they cross their legs, do the same, but keep your shoulders open. 5. Weak handshake. The "I'm not sure" greeting. Raise your hand if you've ever offered a handshake that felt like a dead fish. A Yale experiment found weak handshakes reduced perceived competence by 40%. Here's my hack. I practiced the CEO grip, firm but not crushing. One viewer wrote, "I corrected this and landed my first client." Another said, "I used to dread networking. Now I own the room." Science snack. A strong handshake lights up the brain's reward center. It signals control and trust. Pro tip, Pair with eye contact and a smile for double impact. Practice with a friend. Too tight? Too soft? 6. Over-apologizing, shrinking before you speak. Ever catch yourself saying, "I'm sorry," before even speaking? A University of Texas study found over-apologizing reduced perceived authority by 50%. Here's where it gets personal. I used to say, "I'm sorry, but," before sharing ideas. Now I say, "I'd like to propose." One viewer wrote, "I stopped apologizing and started getting taken seriously." Another said, "I used to apologize for my opinions, now I speak up first." Science snack. Apologies train your brain to expect guilt. It rewires you for weakness. Pro tip, replace "I'm sorry" with "I'd love to suggest," or even "I appreciate the chance to share." 7. Speaking too fast. The "I hope you don't hear me" trap. Ever rush words to sound smart? Big mistake. A Stanford study found moderate-paced speech increased perceived competence by 50%. My ritual. I used to race through presentations. Now I pause after key points. Result? Listeners lean in instead of zoning out. One viewer raved, "I slowed my voice and now I'm the team's go-to speaker." Another said, "I used to panic talk. Now I breathe and speak clearly." Science snack. Slow speech gives your brain time to organize thoughts. It also builds suspense. Audiences lean in when you pause. Pro tip, record yourself reading aloud. Listen for clarity. Try the 3-second rule. Pause before speaking to reset your rhythm. 8. Lack of gestures. The "I'm not present" signal. Ever meet someone who speaks with zero hand movement? Boring. A UCLA study found gestures increase perceived persuasiveness by 60%. Here's my ritual. I use open palm gestures for honesty and finger pointing for emphasis. One viewer raved, "I gestured more in pitches and landed my dream client." Another said, "I used to feel invisible in meetings. Now I use hand signals and my ideas fly." Science snack. Gestures activate mirror neurons. Audiences feel your passion. Pro tip, practice in front of a mirror. "This idea is huge," spread arms. 9. Use purposeful pauses. Command attention with silence. Raise your hand if you've ever raced through a conversation to fill silence. A Stanford study found strategic pauses increase perceived authority by 60% because silence forces people to lean in. Here's where it gets real. I used to panic if a pause lingered. Now I let it sit. One viewer wrote, "I stopped rushing my speech, and now clients actually hear me." Another said, "I paused after asking a question, and the interviewer leaned in." Science snack. Pauses activate the brain's curiosity center. They'll hang on your next word. Pro tip, after stating a key point, say nothing for 3 seconds. Let them fill the gap. 10. Overthinking facial expressions. The "I'm trying too hard." Tell, ever force a grin so hard it looks fake? A Journal of Personality and Social Psychology study found overly rehearsed expressions reduce authenticity by 40%. Here's where it gets real. I used to overthink smiles until I realized real ones light up my whole face. Now I focus on feeling relaxed, not performing. One viewer wrote, "I stopped faking smiles, and now I'm the office sunshine." Another said, "I used to stress over my resting face. Now I let my emotions show naturally." Science snack. Forced expressions trigger stress hormones. Your brain knows the difference. Pro tip, let your face mirror your emotions. Don't force joy if you're nervous. Pair with a deep breath and a soft smile. Which habit hit home? Was it the posture reset, the eye contact shift, or maybe the handshake hack that made you say, "I've been doing this wrong forever"? I love hearing your stories, like the viewer who said, "I corrected my posture and got promoted." Or the one who wrote, "I stopped apologizing and started leading." If this resonated, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm to share this with more people who need it. Subscribe if you're ready to grow with me, and tap the bell so you never miss a tip. Until next time, remember, confidence isn't born, it's built, one gesture at a time. You've got this. Now go out there and own the room. Talk soon.